they get someplace and they turn it down, they get completely talked into stuff. And you ask them if it's at all that they can change their organization.
Last time we had problems like that.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And welcome to this worship service at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson. For those of you I haven't met, my name is Reverend Bethany Russell Lowe, and I have the great pleasure and honor of serving as your minister. Our community is constantly striving to be as varied as the blooms of the Sonoran Desert. So whoever you are, whoever you've been, and whoever you are becoming, I invite you to bring your whole self here and now. We are a covenantal community, which means very simply that we make agreements with each other about how we are together when we are together. And in this time of continuing pandemic, wearing masks when we're here in worship and concurrent religious education is one way that we hold that covenant with each other. We also have as part of that covenant that if you are attending in-person activities with us, that you are vaccinated as you can be. So our hope is that if you're joining us in person, you are vaccinated. And if you're unwilling to be vaccinated, you're welcome to join us. We just hope you'll join us on YouTube next week. I extend a special welcome to any visitors and invite you to fill out a guest information card. If you're joining us on YouTube, our administrator, Mary Weiss, will post a link to that online guest information card in the chat right now. And if you're here with us in person, we hope you'll join us for social hour. There will be a little alcove in the social hour called the Welcome Center, and there will be clipboards there with yellow pieces of paper that you can fill out if you want to stay in touch with us. And we will meet for social hour right after the service in Goddard, which is out the doors kind of behind you and to your left. There will be coffee, iced tea, lemonade, and snacks. And today there's going to be what our kitchen crew is calling a mini lunch for a $5 donation. There will be serving a small sandwich to the salad if you'd like to partake in lunch with us. And next week is the official kickoff but we are in the midst of our pledge campaign, and we've already received over $105,000 in pledges from some of your leaders, which is a wonderful start. Thank you for those who've submitted your pledges. And you look out for an email or a letter sometime in the next 7 to 10 days. And next week we will have pledge cards here in person if you prefer to fill out a paper pledge card. As part of that pledge campaign, your stewardship team this year is organizing some cottage meetings, which are just small gatherings and usually in people's homes where you can meet and talk and just get to know one another in a more intimate environment. You likely have received an email from someone in your zip code, your neighborhood, or you will soon receive one. And we encourage you to attend just to build relationship as we continue to breathe life into our community post-pandemic. If you would prefer to meet here at church rather than in someone's home, or you can't make the cottage meeting for your neighborhood, we will be having that kind of same format of meetings next Sunday after worship and on March 12th after worship. So plan to attend one of those if you can. And this morning, I had Jesus, I've been noticing that some of the wheeled objects that we use have been getting tripped over or moved or jostled, and we want to make space for all of the wheeled objects we have in our sanctuary. So I had Jesus this morning move those wheelchair seats to the end of the rows, and then put spaces next to them where that object can go, and so it is safely out of the way. So my ask of you, the seats just move themselves. So our ask is that if you see the seats moving themselves, or if you happen to be someone who's helping the seats move themselves, you keep those seats at the end of the rows and try to have some space next to them. Just a reminder to our community to be welcoming to all folks. Our grief and loss group will meet at 12:15 in the Reed Room. So if you're experiencing a grief or loss in your life, you are invited to join them. It's a peer support circle. And next Saturday from 9 to 2, Jamelia and I are leading an Odyssey writing group we've talked about a few times. So if you'd like to join us, talk to me ASAP, because there's a little bit of prep for that. And it's going to be a good group. You can join on Zoom or in person next Saturday. Before we get further into our service, I invite you to turn to a neighbor, hopefully someone you didn't have breakfast with, and ask them how they find rest, how they rest. Yeah. Our words for a call to worship this morning come from Reverend Rebecca Gant. Come in from the cold, beloveds. Come into this community of memory and hope, and let us love one another. Outside, our world is as it has always been, beauty and chaos, strife and kindness, injustice and liberation. Make a clearing in the dense forest of your life to be reminded of your deepest commitments, your strongest connections, those things that bring you back to yourself. Take this hour to focus on what is life-giving, on what is hope-giving, on the song that is your life. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning. My name is Watercolor Golightly, and I am your worship associate today.
Morning.
Will everyone please join me in our chalice lighting words today? They're by Reverend Gordon B. McKeenan. Deep calls onto deep. Joy calls onto joy. Light calls onto light. Let the kindling of this flame rekindle in us the inner light of love, of peace, of hope, and as one flame lights another flame, nor grows the less, we pledge ourselves to be bearers of the light, wherever we are. And for those of us joining online, if you have a chalice at home, feel free to light it now, as we light ours here in Holland.
Will you please rise in body and spirit and warm up the space in your bodies and spirits with the first hymn. Wake now, my vision. Wake now, my senses. Verses 1, 2, and 5. The words will be on the screen. Wake now, my senses, and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of freedom. shows us how. Wake now, my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each person who quest for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and grace the sublime. Make now my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my mind with all who will share. Work toward your planet, transform my heart. Thank you. Please be seated.
Our earth is strong. It can hold our pain, our joy, our love, our anger, our shared bowl, which we use for joys and sorrows each week, is strong enough to hold the big rocks. Our collective celebration of mornings and also our smaller stones that will be added to signify our individual joys and sorrows. I found joy coming to choir this morning and finding we needed more chairs. And joy at how our sound team and our visiting musicians worked together in some kind of harmony dance where they made things work like magic. It was pretty cool. We who live in the desert know that water is a life-sustaining, scarce resource. Let us remember those desert people who came in our place. We honor the Yavapai, the Tohono O'odham, the Yaqui, and the Hohokam, which is the name of the people that came before in the language of the Tohono O'odham. Let us remember those who are walking in our desert right now without access to water. We pour water from a plastic jug, similar to the ones that our ministry partners, No More Death, puts out in the desert for those in need in their travels. If you have a joy or sorrow to share, I invite you to go to menti.com and put in the code that's on the screen, 4298-8665. If you are here in person, you are welcome to come up to the table and put a stone in the water to symbolize your joy or sorrow. The pebbles create ripples of hope. And if someone here would like to put something in Menti, Brian is here to help if you're having trouble with your devices. May we acknowledge the joys and sorrows shared by those that remain on slogan. And let us keep just a moment of silence to embrace the warmth of our community. Submitted on Menti, we have congrats to our pianist, Hang Yu, on a successful lecture recital Friday evening. Congratulations, Hang Yu. Difficult meeting at work tomorrow. Pray for me. Enjoying the committee I'm on. That's nice. Hoping Sister Jen's test results come back clear and Mom Deanna has kicked cancer's rear. You both got this. Love you. Prayers of ease and transition for President Carter as he enters hospice care. So grateful for all the people who give their time to make things happen. Joy for a successful auction. Gratitude for all who pulled it off. Anticipation for fun planned event with church friends and family. Prayer requests for Sophia in Mexico. Happy to be a new member of UUCT. Welcome. The good fortune for my grandson. I'll be reading Sometimes by David White. Sometimes, if you move carefully through the forest, breathing like the ones in the old stories, who could cross a shimmering bed of leaves without a sound, you come to a place whose only task is to trouble you with tiny but frightening requests, conceived out of nowhere, but this place, beginning to lead everywhere. Requests to stop what you are doing right now and to stop what you are becoming while you do it. Questions that can make you or unmake you. Questions that have patiently waited for you. Questions that have no right to go away.
This next song will be new to most of you. It is a simple round. We'll sing through the words, we'll sing through both sections twice, and then this chunk of the congregation will be group one, and that little tiny congregation which has the choir will be group two. And we'll see who can sing louder. So let's sing through this in unison though twice, just to catch the tune. Here we go. Bound to love, bound to each other, bound to serve, bound to give, bound to care one for another every day that we live. What do we bring to show our love? What are the gifts that are ours alone? Body and spirit, heart and mind, making a world where all are whole. Again in unison. Bound to love, bound to each other, bound to serve, bound to give, bound to care one for another every day that we live. What do we bring to show our love? What are the gifts that are ours alone? Body and spirit, heart and mind, making a world where all are home. Bound to love, bound to each other, bound to serve, bound to give, bound to care one for another every day that we live. What do we bring to show our love? What are the gifts that are ours alone? Body and spirit, heart and mind, making a world where all are home. Bound to love, bound to each other, bound to serve, bound to give, bound to care one for another every day that we live. What do we bring to show our love? What are the gifts that are ours alone? Body and spirit, heart and mind, making a world where all are home.
What do we bring to show our love? What are the gifts that are ours?
Let's join them on body and spirit. Body and spirit, heart and mind, making a world where all are home. Thank you.
One Sunday each month is designated as Share the Plate Sunday, on which we give half the non-pledge collection to a community organization whose mission we support. Generosity is a spiritual practice, and Share the Plate is an expression of our mission. SAGA, Southern Arizona Gender Alliance, is our Share the Plate recipient this month. Lisa Martin would like to come up and share with you a little bit more about the important role that SAGA plays in our community.
Hey, when the request went out for suggestions for the Share the Plate this year, I thought of this group because it's something that I have definitely benefited from and many people do. So Southern Arizona Gender Alliance is a nonprofit group, provides some really essential services to trans youth, adults, and families here in Tucson. They provide trainings for groups and organizations that might need more understanding to be better allies. They host and facilitate support groups such as the group Families Transformed, which I have benefited so much from, and others support social and conversation groups for various trans and gender nonconforming folks and their loved ones. This group offers help navigating name and gender marker changes, provides information about knowledgeable and supportive health care, and is a vital option for crisis intervention. They probably do a whole lot more than I even know. I personally have learned so much through the support group that I attend in terms of being there for my young adult and being aware of the threats to their civil rights and how to respond to discriminatory laws being proposed and enacted endlessly here and across the country. Our church community holds many values that overlap with the goals of this nonprofit, standing on the side of justice and affirming the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Thanks for whatever you're able to give to support the work of Southern Arizona Gender Alliance.
Half the amount of all the checks made out to UUCT that have Share the Plate written in the memo line, as well as half the cash donations, will go to Saga. If Share the Plate is not written on your check's memo line, it will not be included. If you are joining us virtually, you can send a check to the church with Share the Plate in the memo, or give online at uuctucson.org/donate, or text 833-361-5796. If you give online, be sure to indicate that your donation is for Share the Plate. This church is supported by the voluntary generosity of those who join us. The offering will now be given and received in grateful appreciation, shared hopes, and values. The ushers will be passing the basket down each aisle to receive your donations today.
Props. I'd like to do something a little different today. I am hoping that I can get a couple of volunteers to volunteer to try out or audition for the choir. Is anybody interested? Frank is game. And I've heard him sing, so some of you have as well. And so this is a safe space. Anybody else? Oh, hey, come on up. Okay, Sam. All right. Thank you. And all right. So choose good. Okay. Let me put, do you mind both standing on one side or the other? It doesn't matter. Okay. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. I'm going to give you the microphone so that you can answer. First question is, hypothetically, if a little child, for purposes of this, it'll be this, if a little child ran up to you and said, "Would you like a hug?" What would you do?
Pause dramatically.
Okay, that's fine. Among the options that, well, let's see what Frank would do. Frank, child runs up to you and says, "Would you like a hug?"
I'd look around to see if there was a parent. If not, I guess I would give him a hug.
Okay, good. Okay, all right. Among the options I thought might come out would be yes or no. No would have been a great answer because we are trying to teach boundaries and learning consent to our children in the church, and also yes would have been fine too. But it seems like a hypothetical, but it happens a lot to choir members, and that's why I ask. Would you take a teal hymnal? The teal hymnals have songs that start at 1,000. Would you turn to 1064? Look at me! Okay, Sam, that's good. Look at me! Look at me! Okay, good. All right, you passed. That's another part of it. Are you willing to learn? So, yeah, because you have to look at me occasionally. Are you willing to, thank you. Are you willing to learn to forgive yourself in the moment if you make a mistake?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you willing to give time so that the church's worship services might go well?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, you guys are in. Thanks.
Thank you, Brian. And Frank and Sam, I look forward to hearing you in our choir. I admire a lot of things about one of my ministry mentors, Reverend Howard Dana. He was serving at a church at Concord, Massachusetts when I was working there. But one of the things I admire most about him is that he sings loudly. And he would be the first to admit, he has admitted to me, that he doesn't always hit the right note. He doesn't always get the right rhythm, but when he is leading worship, whenever he's in worship, he sings those hymns loudly. It was a big church where we are, probably 3 times the size of this one, with taller ceilings, and in a crowd of 400 people, you could pick his voice out. And I just loved the way that he embodied that. You know, singing hymns for him, it was more than just singing, it was a sacred act. And he did it with gusto. Another story about singing. I was in a multi-generational choir in my home church. We were called the No Fault Singers. And it was based on this theory called no fault harmony that that Nick Page, a musician, came up with. Page's intention is to teach singers to sing in harmony by encouraging them to mess up and try again. He says, with no fault harmonies, you find a note that sounds good, and you keep singing that note until it doesn't sound good anymore. And then you find a new note, and if you sing the wrong note, it's nobody's fault. So like I said, the No Fault Singers was a multi-generational choir open to everyone in my home congregation. We sang through many of the songs in that teal hymnal even before the hymnal was published because we had an insider who was leading the choir. We learned by listening, not by reading. And then we were encouraged to create harmonies in real time by singing notes that we heard in our mind or that we thought would sound good there. I was one of a few teenagers in this choir, one of the younger folks singing, and I mostly started going to accompany my parents, right, who were interested, and I wanted to just get out of the house. I usually sang with the altos then, who always have a harmony, right, altos? Always have a harmony to sing. And sometimes a tricky harmony, or a boring one, and alternating between the two, and it just... But as we sang together more often, I learned the tunes fairly well. My ear picked them up. And a few times throughout each rehearsal, as we were about a year into this, I could feel the adults lean in as I was singing. And as a teenager, I was a little self-conscious at first, so I would shrink back and kind of not sing as loudly. But I eventually learned that if I just sang a little bit louder in those moments, when the people leaned in, our voices... If I just sang a... I think it's out of battery. I learned that if I just sang a little bit louder in those moments, little bit louder, when they leaned in, our voices would blend together better, and everyone sounded better. It eventually began to feel like an affirmation, that leaning in. I grew in my confidence. The section eventually had me sit in the middle so they could all hear me. I wasn't the section leader. We didn't have those in this choir. But my fellow altos recognized that I had something to offer, a talent, you might say, for hearing the harmony we were being asked to sing. Singing in No Fault Singers helped me learn how to do the work of church, which is you show up, you give your best, you recognize when you need someone or when someone else needs you, and you build up one another together. Whether in song or mood, the same is true. Erin Rathern wrote about the concept of volunteering in church in a blog called Pathos. She wrote, "I balk at the secular nature of what it means to volunteer. To volunteer means you're an outside resource stepping in to help an organization in need. Volunteering is what we do when we pick up trash at the park or build a house with habitat or help sort food at the local food pantry. Volunteering is what I do at my kids' school on Fridays." She continues, "In other words, it's what you do at the place that is important to you, but not a place that belongs to you. You cannot volunteer at your own church in the same way you cannot babysit your own kid, because the church belongs to you in the same way your family does. It's your own place, your own people, so of course you help take care of it. Of course you do yard work and make coffee and teach the kids and sing in the choir and whatever all else it is you do for the home and the people that you love. You cannot volunteer at your own church like you can't babysit your own kid." Wadden lands on the language of service rather than volunteering, serving your church. When we talk here about asking you to give your talents to this church, this is what we mean. Service, not volunteering. Stewarding, maybe. Giving of your talents so that we can make our community better. And when we say talent here, I want to lower the bar. We don't mean the talent that is associated only with prodigy or innate ability. We mean your gifts and your skills, your visions and your dreams and your hopes. Think of a community talent show. I know you've all been there. And I know you've all not just seen the wondrous moments of that child prodigy on piano and the brilliant and funny skits that have you cackling. I also know that you've seen those really cringy moments. Talent shows are incredibly vulnerable for the people offering something. And by witnessing, we, the audience, are invited into that vulnerability, which is part of the cringe. At a talent show, the act of witnessing matters more than the quality of the performance, though. The celebration that comes, whether it was wonderful or cringy, is an affirmation that a vulnerable thing just happened and we felt it all together. Talent shows are an affirmation that vulnerability is an asset, not a liability. Church, in my experience, is more like a talent show than a well-rehearsed recital. We ask you to serve here, and we know that serving can be vulnerable. Serving means helping us build a better community, imagining a better way, which involves hopes and good ideas and some bad ideas, all of which can be really vulnerable. But here, we see that vulnerability as an asset. A better world isn't possible without the tender dreams that we would be really hesitant to share somewhere else out of fear of rejection or being laughed at. Here we ask that you share those tender dreams, to lead from those dreams, to imagine that better world with us. Do we do this perfectly always? Oh gosh, no. But we try, over and over we try. Why keep trying and failing and trying and failing and trying? Well, because you are worth it. The late Unitarian Universalist Alondria Williams helped us imagine a Unitarian Universalism that was free of the chains of oppression and capitalism. E wrote, "We are worthy, not because of what we produce, but because of who we are." They continued, "You are the embodiment of what we need, the embodiment not of productivity, but the embodiment of radical love, care, and sanctuary. It's time, embodiment time." This is why we ask you to serve your church, not to steward someone else's idea or to enact another person's project or to build another person's dream. You serve a church because the act of serving, not necessarily the work, is life-giving for you, embodying for you. I've started encouraging newcomers and old-timers who are looking for ways to serve this community. I've started telling them this: find the people you want to spend more time with and serve there. The relationships matter more than the work. The work will happen, and you might even come alive from it, but what will keep you in service, what will make you come alive, for sure, are the relationships you build. Yes, this is a long sermon pitch to serve this community, and an invitation to find or re-find your place here, and a moment of gratitude for all who do so much to make this church come alive. But this is also an invitation more broadly to untangle your worthiness from your productivity. This is an affirmation that you are worth it in spite of, not because of what you have done or will do. So friends, let's commit to singing louder and louder still. Let's commit to serve this place, becoming stewards for its mission and strengtheners of its relationships. Bring your vulnerability here. Bring your tender dreams. Offer us the best you've got, and we'll celebrate you. And if and when we forget, because we are human after all, and we are caught in the claws of capitalism and individualism, when we forget, let us remember to remind one another, you are worth it. We are worth it. This world is worth it, and it doesn't happen without all of us. Amen. May we make it so together, and blessed be.
In just a moment, the choir will sing, and at some point I may turn to you and ask you to join us and sing as well. So do so as you are comfortable and able. There's a guitar pick. But now we're good.
Pick of destiny. All right.
Hand in hand, stone by stone, help me build our sacred home.
house is built with faith. This house is gonna stand for good, forever and a day. Come on down this path with me, to the place where the road ends. Beyond, beyond, beyond. Hand in hand, soul by soul, that we build our sacred home. Hand in hand, soul by soul, that we build our sacred home. People gonna see us speaking out. People gonna see us holding strong. Everybody gonna sing out loud. Come on, sing along. Come on down this path with me, to the place where the road ends. Beyond, beyond, beyond. Hand in hand, soul by soul, that we build our sacred home. Hand in hand, soul by soul, that we build our sacred home. It's the church of the open mind. It's the church of the loving heart. It's the church of the helping hand. Everybody just come on down this path with me, to the place where the road ends. Beyond, beyond, beyond. Hand in hand, soul by soul, that we build our sacred home. Hand in hand, soul by soul, that we build our sacred home. I don't need to be afraid, 'cause you love me the way that I am. You promised me you'd show it all, again and again and again and again. Soul by soul, that we build our sacred home. Hand in hand, soul by soul, that we build our sacred home. Hand in hand, soul by soul, that we build our sacred home. Hand in hand, soul by soul, that we build our sacred home. Hand in hand, soul by soul, that we build our sacred home. Hand in hand, soul by soul, that we build our Will you please join me in our words of chalice distinguishing by Reverend Amy Zucker Morgenstern? When we take fire from our chalice, it does not become less, it becomes more. And so we extinguish our chalice, but we take its light and warmth with us, multiplying their power by all our lives and sharing it with the world.
what your part shall be. And I can't show you what only you can see, but I can sing you a song. I can sing you a song. I can't make you take what I receive, and I can't make you believe what I believe, but I can sing you a song. I can sing you a song. We can sing you a song, and we can all sing along. And it goes like this now. Da 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 da. I can't save you from your growing pains. I can't free you from your ego's chains. But I can sing you a song. I can sing you a song. I can't show you how to never cry. And I can't show you how you'll never die. But I can sing you a song. Let me see you smile now. I can sing you a song just with a twinkle in your eye. We can sing you a song. Yes, we can. We can all sing along. And it goes like this. Da 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 good.